Welcome. My name is Mr. Kunda Elvis, or you can call me Mr. Zek. Okay, today I would want us to discuss one of the most important topics in physics, especially to our friends who are in grade 12 that are preparing for the final exam. This is the last topic in physics, which is called atomic and nuclear physics. Now, if I can remind you some of the concepts you did in grade 10, the main purpose of a physicist is to discuss matter and energy. So as we'll be discussing matter, to be specific, an atom is a form of matter, which we call a basic unit of matter. So if we want to discuss matter and energy, our job is to see whether a form of matter is able to absorb energy or it is able to release energy. So as physicists, under atomic and nuclear physics, we'll be able to discuss how atoms are able to release energy to the surrounding. So this is a branch of mathematics that deals with the energy that is obtained from the nucleus of an atom. Okay, so now, what is an atom? An atom is simply defined as the smallest particle of an element that takes part in a chemical reaction, and it cannot be split in any simpler form. So we can define an atom as an atom is the smallest particle of an element that takes part in a chemical reaction and cannot be split into any So an atom is simply a smallest particle. This is the smallest particle of an element that takes part in what? In a chemical reaction, and it cannot be split. So the aim of the chemist, as a chemist, we discuss how these atoms react or perform certain functions in a chemical reaction. Now, as our job as physicists, we are not interested in how they react, but we are interested in how they can release energy to the surrounding. This is the reason why we are discussing atomic and nuclear physics. Now, if we want to understand the nature of an atom, the properties of an atom, we need to understand what we call the atomic structure. So what is this atomic structure? So we have what we call atomic structure. So before we discuss the atomic structure, it will also be important to understand what an atom is. So we have defined an atom as the smallest particle of matter, but we should also understand to say this smallest particle of matter or the smallest particle of an element, this part or this atom is made up of two things. It is made up of the central part that we call the nucleus. That's the reason why we have nuclear physics. So the nucleus, and we also have the outer part of the atom that is called an electron shell. So an atom is made up, so you can say atoms are made up of two parts, namely, the first part is called the nucleus, and the second part is called an electron shell. Okay, so atoms are made up of two parts, namely we have the nucleus and we have what we call the electron shell. So these are the two components that makes up an atom. So to be specific, we can talk of an atom of oxygen. This is the nucleus. Remember, oxygen is written, this is the element of oxygen, 8. So, meaning we have how many protons? We have 8 protons. So we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are 8 protons. Then we can also have 8 neutrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 neutrons. Then we can also have electrons where we have 1, 2, then we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is giving us 8. So this is a simple part of an electron, and this part is called the nucleus. This is the nucleus, and these two, they are called electron shells. Electron shells. So if these are called electron shells, these stars here, we are calling them electrons. Electrons, and the red dots here, they are representing what we call protons, and the black dots here, they are representing what we call neutrons. Neutrons. Okay, so this is a simple diagram of an atom of oxygen. So we are saying an atom is made up of two parts. The central part, this central part is called the nucleus, and the outer part, which is called the electron shell. So we have the nucleus and we have the electron shell. But inside this nucleus, we have two subatomic particles. So the two subatomic particles that are found inside the nucleus, we have what we call the neutrons and we have what we call the protons. Then outside on the electron shell, we have what we call the electrons. So this is a simple diagram representing what an atom is. Now, this nucleus, it is very, very, very important under the study of atomic and nuclear physics. Why? Because we want to understand how an atom is able to release energy to the surrounding. So by virtue of doing that, we need to understand certain things. So as physicists, we are able to discuss an atom by saying the central part of an atom, this is where the center of mass is concentrated. Center of mass, this is a region or a given area where the mass seems to be concentrated. So the center of mass of an atom is located on the nucleus. Why? Because when we compare the masses of the electrons, masses of protons and the neutrons, most of the masses of the atom is located or situated at the nucleus. And the less mass is found in the electron shell. So by virtue of having more particles, more subatomic particles with greater mass on the center, this is the reason why we have the center of mass located at the center. So the atomic structure can also be represented in this form, where we have, this is an atom, which we can call an atom. Then apart from an atom, this atom is made up of two things. We have the first thing there and the second. So the first part is the nucleus. In the nucleus there, we are going to find two things. What are the two things that are found in the nucleus? We have what we call 1 and 2 there. Then from here, we are going to have 1 there. So the first part here, the nucleus is made up of two things. What are the two things? We have what we call protons. Then we have what we call neutrons. Then we have what we call what? Here we can have electron shell, shells or valence shells. Then here we can have what we call electrons. Now we said an atom, the center of mass of an atom is located at the center. This is the reason why, because we have two subatomic particles that are located at the nucleus of an atom, and less of the mass is found here. Now, we should also understand to say under the properties of an atom, apart from discussing these two atomic structures, we need to understand the properties of these subatomic particles. So the nucleus is the central part of an atom. The shell is the outer part of an atom. This shell contains what we call electrons. These are negatively charged particles that revolve around the nucleus of an atom. Just like the way the Earth revolves around the sun, these electrons are able to revolve around the nucleus. And the path followed by an electron, it is the one we are calling an electron shell or a valence shell. Then the central part of an atom is the proton and the neutron. Electrons are negatively charged, then protons are electrically neutral, but protons are positively charged. What about the masses? The mass of an atom, a proton is 1 AMU, which means 1 atomic mass unit. What is the mass of this? The mass of a neutron is 1 AMU, and the mass of an electron, in some books you will find that they will say negligible, meaning almost nothing, because it is 1 over 1840 AMU. So this is a very small amount of mass. This is the reason why we said most of the mass of an atom is concentrated at the center, because the mass on the electron shell is almost nothing. So this is the simple explanation of what an atom is and the introduction to atomic and nuclear physics. In our next video, we are going to understand or to explain how these atoms and the nucleus, which is the central part of an atom, is able to release energy. And that subtopic is called radioactivity. So follow the next video where we are going to discuss how we are able to generate energy from atoms, how we are able to make nuclear weapons, how we are able to make nuclear energy from atoms. So the next video will discuss radioactivity. Thank you very much.